Yo, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be going over like pretty much all of the king activations you can do with the fisherman. Um, so yeah, fisherman's not crazy meta, but it's super good with, obviously decks like RG, some balloon cycle decks, maybe like a giant kind of deck, maybe goblin giant, stuff like that. But, these are all the king activations. So yeah, let's hop right into it. All right, so here we're in a friendly battle with my alt account. So let's just like quickly cycle to our, our fisherman. Let's just get that in our hand. So yeah, there are actually a lot of niche king activations that you can do with the fisherman that a lot of people don't even realize. So obviously there's going to be the obvious ones, like if there's a giant or if there's a golem, you just mostly will put the fisherman right here for the, if it's on the left side, you push play here, it'll pull almost every single win con. But there are some cards that are way different that you have to be a little bit more, I guess, creative with. For example, if there is a goblin giant or a goblin barrel on the tower, we have to see, okay, if it's on the left side. Yeah, so let's say they place a goblin barrel. You can actually activate the king tower with the fisherman by pulling the back goblin. And the back goblin will hit the king tower. They do get around 500 damage. But if you have nothing else in your hand, it can be decent. It can allow you to ignore a lot more goblin barrels. And it is honestly, in my opinion, very underrated. And people don't really realize that. Like, you can always activate it every single time with that play. Okay, so another one obviously would be like, if let's say they go golem at the bridge. This is the same with pretty much every single, I guess, big win condition, like the golem, the giant, the E-giant, goblin giant. Wait, let me cycle real quick. Yes, usually you want to just play the fisherman here. And this will pull it every single time. You just gotta be careful if they have something like, a fish, or not a fisherman, a tornado or a lightning. They will sometimes be able to do this, especially in triple elixir. But a lot of time you can pressure, right? So let's say they have a giant. Once you have the king activated, it's obviously way easier because you can just play fisherman's up high. But against the giants, the same thing. You just do the same thing right here against every big tank. If it's a big tank, it will work in that position. So yeah, keep that in mind. Okay, so yeah, like I said, a lot of king tower activations, kind of like the goblin barrel, are super niche. And you might have some sort of difficulties, activating the king off the miner. A lot of people know you can activate the king off the miner, but it's a lot different. Let's say they play a miner on the inside corner, like here. You can drop a fisherman like so. And then, yeah, it does pull the miner. And then, yeah, see how like the fisherman kind of knocks it back a bit, or knocks it forward into the tower. So yeah, that's one placement on the miner that works. There are more though, so wait, let me just cycle real quick. So yeah, I do want to show another miner placement that does work. If they place it in the back, just like here, it will pull. Wait, so yeah, let's place the miner here. Yeah, you can just drop a fisherman like here. And yeah, the fisherman doesn't even have to like move at all. Yeah, the miner will hit the king tower every single time. And yeah, so let's cycle to our fisherman again, because the mirrored one I believe wouldn't work on this one. But yeah, let's say they have a royal ghost. A royal ghost, let's say they drop a royal ghost right here in the middle. If it's in the middle or on the side or something like that, you cannot activate the king tower. So do not even try to activate the king tower if the fisherman is not as far to the side as it possibly can be, because it will never activate the king tower. So yeah, let's cycle back to our royal ghost, and yeah, I will show you how you can activate the king tower off of it. And this will one of those king tower activations that some people don't even realize, even like top ladder RG players. But yeah, let's say they place the ghost on this side. This is the only possible placement, either there or on this side over here. You play the fisherman instead of here, you drop it right here. And yeah, since the fisherman like walks a bit, it can pull the ghost. You do tank 2 hits, but the ghost, notice how it did hit my king tower. And that's how you activate the king tower off the royal ghost. Okay, so in this game that I'm gonna, play, I guess, I'll show you more king activations with different like cards now, right? So obviously one is the hog rider. Everyone knows you can activate king just off this placement every single time. And then once you do activate the king tower, you could always place it right there. It'll always get 1 hit. You could place a high, but because of a fisherman nerf, it will no longer full counter. So you always have to drop like an E-Spirit or skeletons, or pretty much fisherman plus any card in the game will full counter after the nerf. But yeah, let's say someone has a ram rider. Ram rider, there are 2 different ways you do it. You could do the typical hog placement right here, Or you could do one tile even towards the same lane as the Rainmaker, and let's say it pulls it right here. Yeah, just like that. Notice how it was on King Tower. Obviously, my King Tower is activated, so it didn't hit the tower. But that is how you do it with that. So yeah, you can activate off other win cons that are a little bit different than the Hog Rainmaker. You can activate the King Tower against Royal Hogs or Pigs, whatever you want to call it. You just place the Fisherman like this. The issue is you will eat a lot of damage, obviously, right? You will have to drop something else, but you do activate the King Tower. You know, you get the job done. And yeah, even against the Skeleton King. Let's say they go Skeleton King like this. You have to be careful because it could be fully charged up, but let's say you drop a Fisherman right here. If you need, you can always just drop a card last second, but notice how the Skeleton King does, you know, splash my King Tower. It did damage my King Tower. It would have activated the King Tower if, you know, obviously it wasn't already active. But yeah, that's a really useful tip because a lot of those matchups, it will help out a ton because Skeleton King is usually in stuff like, you know, like maybe Graveyard, a lot of baity decks where the King Tower is huge. Let's say someone has a P.E.K.K.A coming down the lane. Usually it's not going to be by itself, but let's say it is by itself, right? You can always just drop a Fisherman like this. Be careful if they have a zap because, you know, obviously they would zap it. But let's say the P.E.K.K.A doesn't one-shot it, but after the second shot, it will go after the King Tower. So you always want to keep that in mind because sometimes you can try to isolate, you know, the support troops from the P.E.K.K.A and you can get the free King activation just like that, and it can win you the game a lot of time. So let's say they have the Hero Mini P.E.K.K.A. Obviously, off a normal Mini P.E.K.K.A, you cannot activate the King Tower because it just doesn't have enough hit points, right? But let's say I feed it a little bit. Wait, hopefully it can actually kill these. Okay, so it is upgraded a little bit. Let me see. Let's say they pop the ability or something, right? Now, if it's level 13, it will one-shot. Level 12 won't, but level 13 will. Now, because it's level 13, because of the one-shot, it will activate the King Tower. So, you know, if it is plus 2 levels, you can always activate King Tower. If not, do not even go for it. It will never work in a million years. And another one that's a little bit strange is the Lumberjack. So you can activate King Tower. Usually you drop a Skeletons or something too. But the Lumberjack, you'd be like, how does that activate King Tower? It doesn't go for the King Tower. The Lumberjack doesn't, but it drops the Rage. And the death damage is enough to, you know, obviously it activates the King Tower. And, you know, there are more kind of weirdish cards, kind of like the Rune Giant. Obviously, the Rune Giant is not a meta card. But since it only goes after buildings, what you can do is you can obviously pull the Rune Giant to the King Tower. And yeah, that works every single time. It's a free King activation. And yeah. So yeah, another one you can do is the Bowler. So against the Bowler, it's a little bit weird. So you pull it like this, you pull it in, and because of the Bowler, like, I don't know, the boulder, I guess, it does hit my King Tower, as you can see there. And yeah, if they have the Executioner, just like the Bowler, you can just place it like here. You know, it doesn't really matter the timing, honestly, as long as it doesn't like walk too much. But yeah, just like that, obviously the Executioner, you know, hit my tower, is activated. And yeah, there are a bit more cards too that are a little bit, I guess, odd. I mean, Giant Skeleton, for example, is one because obviously that does, kind of like the Lumberjack, doesn't go for just the for towers. But, you know, just like this, you can do the placement against, you know, just all tanks. And just like that, the Giant Skeleton will go after the King Tower once the bomb pops. You know, right here, it will not hit my Crown Tower. You know, it does do a lot of damage to your King Tower, but, you know, it's not really an issue. It's kind of irrelevant. But, yeah, there's a little bit more. For example, let's say they go Goblinstein. It's a little bit odd because obviously they have the freaking thing here. But you just like, you know, the tank position against every single tank in the game, you just pull it like this and just like that. You know, obviously it's on my King Tower. It would activate the King if my King Tower wasn't activated yet. Okay, so another one, let's say they have a Magic Archer right here. It's a little bit different because obviously, like, you know, it's a different, more unique one. But one placement that could work would be like right here. You just got to line it up with the King Tower and then place it a bit up. So then when it pulls, obviously the Magic Archer hit the King Tower. It would activate the King Tower if obviously it wasn't activated yet. Okay, so I low-key just finger slipped on an activation or something. But let's say they have an Elixir Golem. Just like in the normal tank position, you can just pull it like so. And, you know, obviously that is the King activated right there. And there are a few more. Let's say they have the Mega Knight. Obviously, you could do the normal position, like here, for example. It will activate the King. The issue is you do take a Mega Knight jump, but there are other ways you can activate off of it. So yeah, this is the Goblin Giant activation, just like the tank one. You can just play the Fisherman like this. If I were you, I would, you know, if you have an E-Spirit like in a Fitzarch, you can just, you know, reset the Spear Goblins to not hit your tower. But that is how you activate off that. So okay, so let's say someone has an ice golem. You might be like, how do you activate it off an ice golem? There's no way it has enough HP. And yeah, the ice golem usually won't hit the king tower. But what you can do is you can pull it with the fisherman, and just like that, the ice golem like death explosion activates the king tower. It does work almost every single time. Surprisingly, one of those king activations that can be really really helpful if they have something like 2.6 or balloon even. But yeah, let's say they have the Mega Knight. You can do other placements as well. Like you could do like this kind of placement right here, and then you obviously have to pull this one up here. And then because it jumps on it, just like that, the activated king tower, it will go to your crown tower. So I don't know if it really would like hit it, but you know that is another placement that would work. You just have to pull something to the middle. You take no damage and get the king activated. So that is one useful tip. Okay, so let's say someone has a Mother Witch. She might be like, no way you can activate off a Mother Witch, right? And usually, yes, that is not true. You can't activate off Mother Witch pigs. But if there is a tank like this, if he had a miner, right? I did activate the off the Royal Hog or whatever. Usually it's not too useful because obviously you'd have to tank a lot of damage usually. But just like Royal Hogs, you know, you can just activate the king off the Mother Witch pig. Could be useful sometimes. So yeah. So if it's an Evo Valk, you can put a fisherman like here because obviously the tornado will do damage. But if they have a normal Valk, you can just put a fisherman like this. The Valk will hit your tower twice, and then it will hit your king tower. You know, that's how you consistently do it every single time. Just like the Royal Ghost placement where you place it one tile to the side, and then it will obviously, you know, walk a little bit. That's how it's able to activate the king tower. Okay, so one thing I do want to show is it's not necessarily like a new king activation. Like you could do the normal fisherman placement against it. Obviously, it would still work because, you know, I already showed it earlier. But sometimes what some people will play with Hog is Hog Tornado. And this is most usually going to be in the Viper deck or Hog Exinado. So like let's say I go Hog right here. Sometimes people do like prediction tornadoes or something like that to pull like a fisherman away, for example. I don't know if that would have actually pulled it because it's kind of walking away. But sometimes they'll do like prediction tornadoes and stuff like that, and it can, you know, maybe not cost you the game, but they will get a lot of damage out of it. So what you can do sometimes to dodge getting predicted is, let's see, they go Hog right here. It's a little bit odd, but you can go with a fisherman really low like this. You can take like 2 hog hits. I think it's always going to be 2 hog hits. And just like that, even if they predict a tornado, your fisherman away, you still activate the king tower. There's a lot of outplay you can do with stuff like that. It will work with more than just the hog rider. It will work with other win conditions as well. Let me just cycle back to my stuff real quick. But yeah, let's say they go with a ram rider, for example. Usually with ram rider, you can just always play in the middle. But you know, with other win cons, it will work as well. It's harder right here because obviously the king tower is activated. But if the king tower wasn't activated, it would have, you know, went after it. So yeah, just another tip right there. You don't want to be predicted. You always want to switch up your fisherman placements. And yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. Hope you enjoyed. Hope this was useful for at least some people. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.